welcome to the Sunshine Sound Podcast with your host, Christine Matthias. Hey, Tommy Bobcat here, LTB, or Luscious Tommy Bobcat, if you're not into that whole brevity thing. We are at episode 20. Isn't that amazing? Somewhat surprised we made it this far, to be honest with you. But we're here, and, every 10 episodes we're going to recap the music that was played in the previous 10 episodes. So, I'm going to start with Hexa. That was episode 11, and that was Carrie and Acacia. They came here and chatted about the music scene. It was an awesome interview. I think you should go back and check that one out. But we're going to kick it off with The Trees. Now, this song is totally heavy, man. I mean, what is heavy? You know, it's like the Woody Allen thing in Annie Hall that, like, did it achieve total heaviosity? I don't know how to describe heavy. I remember when the first time that I heard Red by King Crimson, it was like, dude, this shit is heavy. I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than heavy. Like, it's not aggressive. It's not, like, overly distorted. It's just freaking heavy. And this song is heavy, man. It's hella heavy. So here we go. Hexa, The Trees. yeah. So those guitar centrics at the end, man, I love it. I love that eerie sort of just residue that it creates, the wake, as it were, in the end. Awesome tune. A little on the scarier side. Might have to pop another melatonin tonight to get myself to conk out, but I don't know. We got to figure out that habit at another time. But anyway, Hexa, excellent work there. Love the cymbals. You know, I'm mostly a snare guy. Like I usually zero in on the snare and can't let go. But the cymbal work on that by Acacia, I think it really makes that tune. Dig it a lot. Love Hexa's music. So now we're gonna move on to Parker Meridien, and these guys were so much fun to have over. In fact, Parker made a few comments about how much he loved our dog, and that's extra bonus points. So kudos to him. And did I just say kudos twice? Somebody should shoot me. That's ridiculous. But anyway, I just wanted to say that Jester loves you back, and come over anytime. We'll play around. So Parker Meridien, they're a live rap group, and by live we mean live instrumentation. You know, guitar. Well, let's see, drums and bass, and definitely some mallet percussion stuff. Awesome work. And this song, New River, I like it a lot. It's got an awesome lyric work. Digital role models, always sticks out to me. And then he starts. I like at the end he starts like listing his favorite romance movies. I like all those movies. Big fan of all of those. So here you go. New River, Parker Meridien.
you know what the name of the clique, PNC GMG. Started off with 2 Ys and soon I got glasses. I'm talking to you, keep up with me. I'm flashing back but backwards. Smoking gun detective flicks, black and whites and cigarettes. Smoke them if you got them, kids. This is Moon Rivers. But this is that Mr. Ed, the girls, the gams, and cigarettes. Those who done it, you'll never guess. Smoke them if you got them, kids. Moon River. Hey. For my cats that watch Criterion, the focus say criteria. My Cisco's and my Ebits, anywhere that there's a TV on. Moon. And as previously mentioned, I took the time to write you a list of some of my favorite, most romantic films. Number 10, let's say Goonies. Everything don't gotta be lovey-dovey to be romantic. She's Gotta Have It by Spike Lee. The Professional, Monster, Baby Boy, that's one of my favorites. Leonardo DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet, Mo Better Blues, Cold Mountain, Tampopo, and of course the number 1 spot is Sid and Nancy, Sid and Nancy, Sid and Nancy.
Sid and Nancy, yes. You know, I actually stayed in that hotel in New York. I don't think we were in his room, but it was weird because these people we were staying with, the guy snored like crazy. We couldn't, what the hell were we gonna do? We stayed up all night, couldn't deal with it. I think one woman slept in the bathroom. So that's New York, New York. So Parker Meridien, excellent tune. You know what's interesting about that is I really like that he uses kind of that high pass bullet mic. I was in a band in college where a guy kind of rapped with one of those, and it was really cool. It's like that old time radio thing, and I really wish that more people would do that. Big fan of it. So we're actually gonna, without further ado, do another Parker Meridien tune. This one's called "Distance Runner." Enjoy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm in the laundry room trying to figure out the security system.
I can't talk right now, though.
Right, why'd you call then?
Because you told me to call you.
When?
Look, before I left, I'll call you back. Bounce.
27 blunts, feel like I've been sitting here for months. I think it's probably only been a minute, but finally this party's heating up. Oh man, but that hot-blooded vodka could make all the Hennessy sweet. And what starts off at a concert ends at the Embassy Suites. Oh man, Ohio to Tokyo, I'm somewhere out in Idaho, and I don't know the name. All I know is I got a trick. I keep my dick in my dickie so broads can't fuck with me, and I leave before the party is through. I'm not playing, let's bounce and let's go. Double cups. I think I've seen a couple of my exes walking in the door when we pulled off. Cause I'm hip to how that hot-blooded vodka could change your whole life in a blink. And what starts off at a concert could end at the Embassy Suites. Oh man, Ohio to Tokyo, I'm lost way out in Idaho, and I don't know the name. All I know is I got a chick. I keep my dick in my dickie so broads don't f with me, and I go before the party is through. I'm not playing, let's bounce and let's go. Bounce, man. Bounce, 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 bounce.
Long distance runner.
Hey, bounce.
Ohio to Tokyo.
Girls all mad.
When somewhere out in Idaho.
Somewhere out in Idaho.
I'm walking in the door.
I'm gonna have to call her back.
When somewhere out in Idaho.
I'm gonna no service.
Ohio to Tokyo.
Phone's all bugging.
When somewhere out in Idaho.
I'm walking in the door.
When somewhere out in Idaho. Ohio to Tokyo. When somewhere out in Idaho. And I don't know the name, all I know is I got a kid. Ohio to
all the way out there in Idaho. That is Parker Meridien, long distance runner. Not distance runner, as I said before, long distance runner. Important difference. That song makes you feel like you're on mile 18 of the Roby Creek. Well, no, Roby Creek's only a half marathon, right? In Idaho? I don't know. Callers, call in, and we'll figure that one out. But Idaho reference. Spent a long night there. A month there, one night, right? I don't know, man. So anyway, Parker Meridien, excellent tune. We're moving on to Pretty Howtown now with John Noble. Now this is one that you have to go back and listen to. Like, there's no question. This guy will blow your mind. Modular synth stuff, it looks like a giant like you're one of those old school like operators, telephone operators. But man, and this guy builds it all himself. I bust out my pedal board, and he tells me everything under the hood of either of all of the effects pedals. I think I like got this knowledge, like, oh, I know dry, wet, time, all that stuff. And he's just like, nope. He's telling me like, motherboard chip stuff and like soldering and all this. And I'm just like, yeah, I know nothing. Anyway, I can still live a happy life though. I don't know. We'll see. But Pretty Howtown, we're going to kick it off with Westbound. But again, go back, listen to that podcast. Awesome. right, Pretty Howtown, Westbound. Always improvised. You're not gonna rehearse that stuff. It's like Jackie Gleason, you know? Kills the spontaneity. And we need spontaneity. So, we're gonna do another track from Pretty Howtown. This one's called Dust and Shadow. I encourage you to listen back at least to the intro of the podcast with John Noble, Pretty Howtown, because he talks about the limitations of Western scales and how he was able to break out of that with his modular synth, and how you hear these amazing harmonies, how they knock your socks off when you're hearing it with a barbershop quartet, and you're not as limited with as you are with instruments, which are made for transposition out here and not necessarily the least dissonant sound. So I don't know what I'm talking about, as you can tell, but I thought I'd give a heads up on that, tease you to go back and listen to the podcast. But for now, Dust and Shadow. Enjoy. Okay, Dust and Shadow by prettyhowtown. Very interesting notes. I mean, the more that I listen to that, I really see kind of what he's talking about. I don't understand it cerebrally, of course, I never will, but I dig, I get it. You know, that song's interesting too because it kind of it takes me back a little bit to like the 80s, like Teen Wolf, some of those other movies, Risky Business. It's like that feeling of like, you know, like Tom Cruise is, a young Tom Cruise is kind of, he's missed class for like a week and he's thinking to himself like, oh man, I gotta get back to class, I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't know, man. Something like that. All right, we gotta move on to Blood Ponies. This is podcast episode 14 with Jeff and Candace. What a change of pace here we're gonna have in music. This is awesome stuff. This is one of the few podcasts that I actually didn't listen to the music before they came over, and I have to say that I am not happy with myself for doing that, because I would have had a lot to chat with them about. I really like this. It's some of my favorite music that I've heard so far. Love it all, but this music's just really interesting because I think they described it as kind of like a, what was it, like a goth punk thing? I could be getting that wrong, but I get like such a strong like desert vibe out of this thing. I don't, you know, I get the vocals and everything else, but the just that guitar, you know, you just feel everything feels warm. It's just got such a warmth to it, almost like a sandblasted warmth, like you feel when you're out, you know, you drive out on East and you're at Bombay Beach or something. Anyway, we're gonna kick this off with "Let Me In." This is a killer track. Check out the video as well. Knock, knock. It's kind of like, you know, I mean, my doorbell's broken, and that's pretty much what everyone has to do when they come over. So, Nice reference we all get to make to Blood Ponies, and excellent tune. I practically feel sunburn just listening to it. So we're gonna actually gonna hear another one by them. This one is called The Greater Good, and if you go back and listen to the podcast, I can talk a little more. You'll hear a little more about the meaning behind that and the message. So here you go, The Greater Good.
To their teeth, I see the blue in their veins. I see them coming toward me. This is what we want. This is what we want. They want me tied and smothered. They want me tarred and feathered. They want me drawn and quartered. They want this over soon. This is what we want. This is what we want.
Blood Ponies, The Greater Good. You know, it's interesting with that interview because Jeff and Candace talked about how, you know, when they're writing songs that sometimes it can get to where you're just hammering and hammering and pushing, and the song's not really getting any better. And for them, that's a signal to step back. If they don't get that flow right off the bat, then they abandon the song. And I thought that was really interesting because you can really hear that flow in their music. And I think it takes a lot as a musician to, you know, cut your losses and move on. It's a little sad, you know, it's your baby. It's like putting your baby to sleep, but sometimes you got to do that. All right, so we're going to move on to Paige Miller, who moved here from Virginia. Actually stopped in Virginia on our drive out here. Had a great time. Stayed in an Airbnb, and we got to San Diego and actually had a problem at the Airbnb. Had to run away. So, but that's another story for another time. Here we go. This is Paige Miller playing drums on Dixie's track, Stir Crazy. Enjoy.
Changed lately. I've been doing the same thing for the last few years. I'm not afraid of change, baby. I know I need to grow, I need to get out of here. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy, stir crazy. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy, stir crazy. Somebody gonna save me, oh save me. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy. And I don't wanna wake up to the damn alarm, not one more day. And I don't wanna break up, no. Oh, I just want the freedom to do things my way. crazy, stir crazy. Somebody gonna save me, oh save me. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy, stir crazy. And every time I do the same thing, I go a little bit crazy inside. Feel like I've been just living to die, but I wanna start living my life. Every time I do the same thing, I go a little bit crazy inside. Feel like I've been just living to die, but I wanna start living my life. Stir crazy. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy, stir crazy. Somebody gonna save me, oh save me. Oh, stir crazy, stir crazy. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy, stir crazy. Oh, I'm gonna stir crazy, stir crazy. Somebody gonna save me, oh save me. Oh, stir crazy, stir crazy.
Okay, Stir Crazy by Dixie Maxwell. You know, I forgot her last name as I was introducing that song. I know that was totally obvious, but we don't do redos in podcasting. Never have, never will. You just move on. You move on to the next one. No matter how much you're rambling and boring and nobody wants to hear it, you keep doing it because that's what podcasting is. All right, we're going to shift gears here and do Bad Vibes. I almost said Good Vibes, oddly enough. No, it's Bad Vibes. And this was an interesting interview because they clearly like to have a good time. So if you're in the mood for some stories from the road and even some stories from the studio, yeah, you didn't know the studio could get crazy, right? They talk about making stuff in vinyl still. I've always admired those people that can do those, you know, those like convex, concave cuts by hand on vinyl tape. Amazing. So here we go. This is Bad Vibes, and I totally spaced on the song name. But I'll get it on the other side. No crying in podcasting.
feels so strange, yeah.
That was Strange Love by you know, it's funny, I almost forgot the band name. By Bad Vibes. Nah, I knew it all along. We're going to hear another song by Bad Vibes. You know, I got to say that, you know, you listen back to that music and you're going, you know, I totally get why they want to do it in vinyl. It's that, like, vintage sound that vinyl can only really capture. And it always strikes me as funny, the people that, whose music, you know, you listen to, particularly in the lo-fi stuff. You're going, you hear these people talk about, they're like, oh, yeah, I got the Godwin Satan album by Ween, you know, on vinyl. And it's like, dude, that's lo-fi shit. It's just, I mean, they weren't making it to for the best listening sound possible. I think you do all right with that on CD or tape or whatever. But I think people like to own vinyl. And that's just kind of how it is. But anyway, Bad Vibes. I think this stuff was made for vinyl. So here we go. We get another tune. She Reverie. Enjoy.
I
Bad Vibes, She Reverie. Excellent tune. Those guys are just finishing up, they finished up an album in the studio. Did it all in vinyl, as I mentioned earlier. And actually reminds me of, did you ever see that comic strip where the guy's like looking, he's standing there with his buddy and they're looking at the turntable and he goes, what ultimately drew me to vinyl was the expense and the inconvenience. But we kid. Nah, vinyl's great, particularly for audiophiles and collectors. You got to have vinyl. It sounds, it's got all those artifacts. It's like, I don't know what it's like. It just sounds better. It may not sound crisper and cleaner, but it sounds more organic, maybe more artistic. I don't know. But everything's coming back. You got cassettes coming back. You believe that? Never thought I'd hear that being said. Actually, had a guy tell me that he's gonna get an 8-track player. Crazy, right? I don't know why you do that. I can't figure it out. All right, we got to move on from vinyl and on to episode 18. This is Melissa Grove for Girls Rock San Diego. Awesome. Inspiring person. One of the most inspiring people I've ever met. Mel was so much fun to have over, and just a pleasure to work for, I ran sound last year and had no idea what I was doing at the Performing Arts Center. But it's one of those, shoulders back. You're just like, I know enough to fake it, and one way or another, it came off. But I appreciate Mel giving me the opportunity. That was so much fun. I learned a tremendous amount and had a blast. And she is such a great person to talk to and be around. So I'm going to play the theme song. This is, I think it's just called the theme song, but it's very catchy. I'm remembering, S.A. and Diego and reggae, funk, soul, all that stuff wrapped into one. So here we go. Girls, Rock and Roll Camp for Girls San Diego theme song.
2, 3, 4. S.A. Diego, whoa, where the rock meets the roll. We got funk, reggae, and soul. S.A. Diego, whoa, where the girls run the show. Oh, oh, oh. Okay. We plug it in, rock it out, turn it up, get down. We can go solo, but together we make a bigger sound. We go within where we find all we've been looking for. Give me drums, give me bass, everyone's got a place rocking by the shore. S.A. Diego, whoa, where the rock meets the roll. We got funk, reggae, and soul. S.A. Diego, whoa, where the girls run the show. Oh, oh, oh. G-I-R-L-S, rockin' hard out in the west. Rock and roll, camp for girls. San Diego. M-U-S-I-C, let it out, set it free. Rock and roll, camp for girls. San Diego. G-I-R-L-S, rockin' hard out in the west. Rock and roll, camp for girls. San Diego. M-U-S-I-C, let it out, set it free. Rock
S.A. San Diego. Awesome theme song for Mel and Rock and Roll Camp for Girls San Diego. I apologize if I keep calling it Girls Rock. We worked with a camp in Vermont that was called Girls Rock Vermont, so that's why I keep getting those. They're affiliated with each other, but just slightly different names, so I'm sorry I keep messing that up, Mel. Anyway, go check them out. They've got a showcase. I don't have it in front of me, and it's sometime in July. I think it's this podcast. I think is going to come out after the showcase, unfortunately. But you go to their website, and you can learn more information there. We're going to need to move on to, this is episode 18, and we're nearing the end. Oh man, I got to wait another 10 podcasts to talk to you again. But we're going to do Aquarium with Christian and Ronnie. Now, this is a funny one because I listened to the music before they showed up, and I was like, oh man, finally, some lo-fi guys. I love it. Hadn't heard any lo-fi stuff since I'd gotten here. And I mentioned that, and I was like, oh man, I dig it. I dig your mixing. And Christian kind of looked at me like, nah, I'm trying to get it better. You know, I'm not really, that's not really what I wanted to do with it. And I'm like, oh man, no, you got to keep it. You got to keep it that way. I don't think he bought it though. So this is, and they're calling it kind of a surf. I think he said that it's been described to him as sort of surf rock. I think it's got that early 90s shimmy disc, bong water, early Ween stuff feel to it. So you be the judge. This is Aquarium, and I forgot the track name. We'll get it on the other side.
Let's play the game. It's just a game, as deep as the melody is. I played for King, I can't remember it. Rolled up my sleeve, I am perfect. It seems to me that we are so close to it. Yeah, it seems to me that we're all pretty much the same. Maybe a defining feature, maybe we're all alike. What does it take to reach you? So I'm hungry for my soul, but they're all too lazy, and I'm too thirsty. Yeah, it seems to me that we're all so close to it. Yeah, it seems to me that we're all pretty much the same. Living on this planet, gobbled up our breakfast, while others are hungry in the lover's cockpit, while the noxious fumes blown over confidence. But it seems to me that we're all so close to it. But it seems to me that we're all pretty much the same.
All right, that's Same Difference by Aquarium. Cool tune. And we're going to move on and hear another one by them called Wand. And I got to tell you, I really like how this one is mixed. I think there's, I was talking to Christian about it, and there's like some spring reverb picked up on the vocals. I really like what he did with it, and I'd like him to keep it that way. But we'll see. This interview was great because they both talked about how easy it is for them to get gigs. You don't hear that very often. I think they must enjoy the process because for me, it is worse than getting my wisdom teeth pulled out by a sadistic dentist. But I don't have any shows. for that reason. This is my show. So we appreciate you putting up with it. And we got one more after this. But here you go, Wand by Aquarium. Enjoy. Once again, that's Aquarium with Wand. Ah, man, you know, that really reminds me of, it's like Bong Water, like Psychedelic Sewing Room. You know, you should go back and check that one out if you haven't heard it, because if you like what you hear from Aquarium, because it's very similar for me, but, you know, you never know. You know, people listen to your music and they're like, it reminds me of this, and you go, what? I hate that music. So apologies if the references I'm making don't add up to what you want to do, but that's how it goes, man, when you got fans. All right, we are closing in. Actually, we are on the last podcast with Mark Sgarbossa. This one was way cool, man. Mark is such a fun dude. I'm hoping to play some shows with his band in the near future, but we'll see how that one goes. But he talks about his art and everything else in his music. The guy has been prolific in every possible sense of the word. You got tons of music, you got lots of art, and he makes a bunch of stuff for us for free. So how can you go wrong there? I feel like I want to play like 50 of his songs, but we only got time for 2 more. They're giving me the light to get the hell out of here. So I got to do that. But this tune's called Bela Surf, something along those lines. I'm reading it. Didn't get the pronunciation, so I apologize, Mark, if it's off. But it's got kind of like a Link Ray like surf guitar going on, and then it's like tribal music in the background or something like that. You know, it's good stuff. It's a good fusion. I dig it. And here you go, Bela Surf. Mark Sgarbossa, Bela Surf. Great tune. Awesome work. So we're going to hear another song by Mark, actually from his band, the Shirlies. This one's called Wow. And I like to pay attention. You know, I'm always talking about snare stuff. It's weird because I'm like not a drummer, but it's like the reverb on this snare, and it sort of takes me back to that. Did you ever see that movie Electric Apricot with, it's like Les Claypool and his gang, and they're sort of making fun of the jam band scene. It's kind of like a Christopher Guest thing. But one of my favorite parts of that movie is they're in the studio, and the drummer, he takes 2 days to set up his drum kit. He's like, and one of my favorite lines is from that movie is, you only make your first record once. So you got to do it right. And I think we've all been there. So anyway, this is the Shirlies Wow. And a bit of a change of pace here. A little bit of a Trent Reznor with the vocals, but a lot of variety in this track. So here you go. Wow. Wowza! Well, folks, you know, it's actually not me taking off my head. That's actually still that's the track. Headphones being removed, it sounds like. So here we are. We're back. Hi. We've reached the end, unfortunately. I had a blast. This was really cool, and I had a really fun time going back and hearing the music again. I'm not going to be here next week, as you know. Christine will be back in full force. She's in Baltimore right now. Actually, just sent me a photo of Frank Zappa, his statue. Apparently, it's being disrespected, so I might have to hop on a plane and beat some people up. But I could take on the whole city of Baltimore. Fuck it, right? But anyway, I'm really glad that you tuned in with me this week, and I hope you're doing well out there, and we'll see you again in another 10 episodes. Take care.